Mountain West Edition chatter is heating back up.
Conference realignment is always in the news, so we're back on the Big Mountain to give you an update.
Hey, welcome back to the Big Mountain. I'm JY. This is my good friend Steve. We did an update on North Dakota State last week, Steve. You know, if you're interested in that episode, if you didn't already hear it, go back and give it a listen. We kind of laid the groundwork of some of the rumors, some of the smoke that's going around for North Dakota State with a possible move to FBS. I stated that my sources that I went out to just told me to kind of be skeptical. They hadn't heard anything definitive on that. But since that time, I have now been contacted by one of my high-level sources with some additional information about the Mountain West possibly adding new members. I want to be clear, if you're new to the channel, when we mention sources, we're talking about people within universities, within athletic departments. These aren't other reporters or boosters or anything like that. These are people within universities and athletic departments. So I was told here recently that the Mountain West will be looking to potentially add 3 additional members. If you've been following us on the Big Mountain for a while, we've talked about some of these schools, so it's probably not going to be too much of a surprise who I'm going to be talking about, but the irons are still in the fire. The first one here, North Dakota State University. Yes, that smoke is real, I'm being told. To be clear, there is nothing imminent that's going to be happening here today, tomorrow, next week, anything like that. But the rumors that people are hearing, kind of the dot connecting that people are doing, I'm being told that these renewed discussions are happening here with North Dakota State. The second school is Tarleton State, another school you and I have talked about for quite some time. And again, nothing imminent here with Tarleton State, but that mutual interest remains. I'm being told the earliest of either of those two schools to potentially be added to the Mountain West is 2027. So some people have, still hoping for 26. I was told the earliest would be 2027. So again, like I'm telling you, nothing is imminent for those two schools. The third school is one that came out as a pretty big surprise here earlier this year. There was no smoke around this school, but that was UC Davis coming to the Mountain West. And a lot of people have said, well, what about football? Because for now, football's staying in FCS as UC Davis joins everything else, all their other sports here July 1st of 26. I'm also being told there is serious consideration from UC Davis if they are ready to move up to FBS. There's a lot of things that they're working on. As we discussed just a few weeks ago, Steve, there's a new Aggie Ascent facility plan that they have unveiled. And I want to talk about that here briefly. This is a new athletics facility plan. According to AD Rocco DeLuca, he stated that, quote, "This plan is more than facilities. It's an investment in people and in the future of UC Davis. Our student athletes compete at an elite level, and our facilities should reflect that same standard of excellence." The website then goes on to say that this plan is aimed at building on momentum and accelerating their success. It also states that implementation is expected to unfold in phases over the next few years based on philanthropic
That's a word. Ooh,
philanthropic support. So another source told me here that UC Davis appears to be a little conflicted right now in terms of the degree that they're willing to commit to football investment for that move to FBS. As we know, UC Davis was very quiet when they made that move to the Mountain West many months ago. I think they'll be equally as quiet in terms of what their plans are for 2027 and beyond for football. I do want to remind everybody real quick here, Steve, and then I want to hear your thoughts about UC Davis and their current membership agreement with the Mountain West. I'm going to throw this up on the screen. It's right out of the membership agreement. It states, if the conference, here at the Mountain West, contemplates evaluating an FCS program to a full member, including participation in the conference's FBS competition, The conference will first invite the new member, that's UC Davis here, to apply for that opportunity with the understanding that the conference is under no obligation to select UC Davis for elevation to that status. So again, they can apply if they choose to do so, but the Mountain West does not have to select them to become a member. So again, they'll be given that opportunity. With that said, I am told that if UC Davis applies, the Mountain West is likely going to add them. So kind of the ball's in UC Davis's court right now, whether or not they're ready and whether or not they're going to be doing that in the next year or two. Lastly here, Steve, I'm told that the lawsuits are absolutely in, front of mind for the Mountain West and the board members there. While we don't know what's going to happen, this could happen in another month. It could take another year. We don't know how long these lawsuits are going to be out there. But that does give, kind of some unsurety in terms of moving forward with future editions. But I can tell you, they're continuing to have talks with several FCS schools, and they're gearing up to possibly add 3 additional members. They're not going to stand still. They're not going to wait. They're still working on things behind the scenes. So that's what I got, Steve.
Yeah, there's a lot there, a lot to unpack. We talked about this recently about a week ago with North Dakota State.
Right.
And a lot of this kind of fleshes out some of the things that we kind of thought were going on behind the scenes, but now we have a little bit more confirmation, which is great. So first of all, talking about North Dakota State, I think, to me, they're the one school. Well, first of all, let's go back to the timing issue, because we dealt with this a lot when we were discussing the ACC, Florida State fans, Clemson fans, and all that. People need to relax and calm down a little bit with the timing. 2027, especially if it was just like a North Dakota State to start out, that is pretty soon. To me, 2026 was just not an option.
Sure.
A realistic option in my mind. 2027 is pretty soon if they were to get things settled with the lawsuits and all that, and I think North Dakota State is the one school out of all of them that we're talking about, all the possibilities that could come in right away, day one, compete at every level in the Mountain West. And honestly, I think they would make like we talked about, they'd make a great match. They would, they might be competing for Mountain West championship right away, because we've seen the success that they've had competing against Power 4 level teams, and all, they can hold their own.
Right.
So I think they would be obviously the most likely, and especially if there was going to be someone as soon as 2027.
Right.
Now, I don't think we know yet if the Mountain West would prefer to bring them all in or kind of stagger it. We don't know,
right,
as far as I know. So, here's looking at you, North Dakota State. Get ready if this is what you want to do, and I think they basically are ready.
Yeah.
So that's my thought on that. My next thought is, you mentioned Tarleton State, you mentioned UC Davis. I still wonder about South Dakota State. Maybe them coming along as a kind of a 2-pack with North Dakota State, or maybe following them a year or two later.
Sure.
Something like that. I wonder about them. One school we haven't brought up, a school that their leadership is friends of the show, Sac State.
Sure.
They're one that we watched real closely. They took their shot. They really did. But they also kind of rubbed some people the wrong way.
Yeah.
Things maybe haven't quite worked out the way that they were hoping. They missed the playoff this year in FCS.
Right.
Now their coach is leaving.
Right.
So I think that's probably, I would say at best, they're probably a distant fourth as a team that would be considered if they were to add 3 at this time. But overall, I think, UC Davis, they're following the right path. They were quiet when they came in. They're working on considering if, they can make the financial investments. They're not banging on the door.
Right.
They're getting themselves ready, because we've seen some FCS schools make the jump and say, oh boy, that was rough. Like, maybe we shouldn't have done this.
Right.
Going to take us a while to get back up on our feet again. So I think the 3 or 4 kind of main candidates at this point, they're all doing things the right way. Tarleton State, the same thing.
Right.
And maybe I shouldn't say the right way, but they're going about this in a very intelligent process.
Sure.
Just working themselves out. Tarleton, to me, would be the second, the number 2, not necessarily my number 2 choice, although they would be, but as far as upgrading their facilities, getting everything done, that process they've been taking, which I think is very smart.
Yep.
And honestly, I would love to see like next year, Tarleton and North Dakota State in the conference playing football, because it would make for an awesome conference. It'd be so much fun. But these schools, they're doing their due diligence. Boy, that's a mouthful too.
You did good.
Yeah. And the Mountain West is being smart about this, because while it would be awesome to see these teams playing football, they really need to get this lawsuit settled, taken care of, win it, lose it, something, because there's just so much at stake with that, and it's so hard. It'd be like you putting a whole other addition onto your house when you're getting sued by 3 different people, you're suing someone else. You know, it's just it's not great timing. But I hope they can work through that, and I'd love to see those programs that we mentioned competing in the Mountain West in football.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm going to be getting another lawsuit update out here shortly. Just a brief one. There's been some items that have come out here with the PAC lawsuit. But I want to go back to UC Davis real quick, because when we talked about this, the thing that really stuck out to me, and I talked about it here earlier, where they talked about the implementation is expected to unfold in phases over the next few years based on philanthropic, I did a little better that time, support. So it's, it's almost reading that some of this facility planning is beholden to getting the proper donors and support. They've got the plan, but in order to achieve this plan, they're going to need some donors and people to step up. And that could be part of why UC Davis, now this wasn't said to me, I'm just kind of, connecting some dots. They're a little kind of, I hate to say wishy-washy, but they're unsure if they're going to be moving to FBS within the next 2 years, because they know what they need. It's not, hey, we're going to do it and we'll figure it out later. As you mentioned, there's some schools that have already done that, some that are trying to do that. They want to actually be ready or prepared in their mind to do that. And I can see, just as we talked about this a few weeks ago and what I've been hearing now today, I think UC Davis is just trying to figure out if they're financially ready for those facility adjustments with or without donors. And I will just say, I think Sac State's completely off the board. I think the Mountain West is all in on UC Davis. And so, I just wanted to bring that up because it kind of rang in my brain when we talked about this a few weeks ago. And it kind of has been reinvigorated by some of this information I got from my source.
I would say, to me, and I'm not disagreeing with your read that they're trying to figure it out.
Sure.
I think, from my perspective, it sounds like a call out or a signaling. Hey, fans, if you want us to be able to move up, you need to put your money where your mouth is. Otherwise, we're going to stay where we're at, because we're not making a bunch of money. We're not losing too much money. We're in a nice conference that we want to be in. And everything is cozy right now. But if you guys want us to move up, then you got to put some money up. And that's, small donors donating. That's big donors donating. That whole combination. Basically putting it in the fan base / booster base, whatever you want to call it, to say, we want to move up. Okay, then show us with your money.
100%. The only thing I wanted to add was to go back to something that A.D. Frazier said here about a year ago with NIU when he was talking to his board at the time of approving this change to the Mountain West. He had mentioned that he believes, and I've said this before, but he believes that there was going to be more coming with the Mountain West in terms of additions. I still believe that's in the Central Time Zone. I don't think NIU believes that they're going to be the lone Central Time Zone school in the Mountain West. And it just, again, leads me back to what we've been talking about. North Dakota State, Tarleton State, getting into that Central Time Zone a little bit more. And just that's where everything's at. So I'm not trying to get anybody's hopes up. But as we get more information, more data, there is renewed, I don't say renewed interest. I think there's been continual interest, but renewed discussions about how is this going to work? When is this going to work? That's where we're at again right now.
You know what I think?
Yes.
I think we need to have In Gloria We Trust back on the show again so we can ask her about that.
Okay, well, maybe we can try to do that. So with that, hey, wanted to bring you another update. As we don't make these things up. When we get information, we'll give it to you guys. This was brought to me without me asking yet again. But it looks like there's renewed discussions, ongoing discussions here with some of these FCS schools. And we'll see what happens with the Mountain West. As you guys know, we do everything Mountain West. We follow football. We're getting more into the basketball. Of course, we cover realignment and whatnot. As we get into the off season in football, we'll be covering a lot more of this basketball stuff as well. So make sure you like this one and subscribe if you like that type of content. And we'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.